In this segment, the fall of Dragonstone is the symbolical fall of the House of Targaryen. Yet it is not the end of the Targaryen dynasty until the death of Aerys II Targaryen. William continues doing his studies, as much as learning about Daenerys' house and her father, who she never really got to know when she was a little girl. She watches him intently, seeming pleased and proud that William has taken in, with much respect, everything of her past. So as William continues the Targaryen Genealogy 101, this now comes into the first attack by House Greyjoy, who finally enters into the war for spoils, though they did not win, and the murder of former Prince Rhaegar Targaryen's wife and queen, Elia Martell, Princess Rhaenys, and their son, a newborn, Aegon, who would have been known as Aegon VI had he not been killed. In this next part here, as Greyjoys finally try to make a go of it because they want to have spoils during Robert I Baratheon's campaign. This also gives them an opportunity while they're distracted that Prince Rhaegar's body is snuck away back to the Red Keep where he's given a proper burial. Catelyn, now married to Ned Stark, gives birth to her first son towards the end of the Robert's Rebellion to Robb Stark. During the time that Tywin hires someone to do the unthinkable, somehow, while that's going on, which leads to Prince Viserys and Daenerys Stormborn of the House of Targaryen being snuck off to safety from Dragonstone, although they don't realize that in actuality the murder, a type of war crime in Daenerys' world, takes place actually at the Red Keep. Fortunately, they get away unnoticed and they don't show up within the time that this murder takes place. It's also the end of Queen and widow of Rhaegar Targaryen, Elia Martell, the daughter, Princess Rhaenys, and Rhaegar and Elia's son, Aegon, who, if he would have lived, would have been known as Aegon VI. The brutish man makes his first appearance then, along with another man of average size, and so it becomes a very grisly detail. In the meantime, Lyanna Stark, Ned's sister, who is still at the Tower of Joy, finally gives birth to what everyone has been waiting for, baby Jon Snow. Aww. Well, in any case, that information is kept from him because it's for his own protection. Eventually, though, Catelyn will not be happy about this, but that will be another tale to tell when he brings Jon Snow, otherwise known as the Bastard, home to Winterfell. In the meantime, Aerys, after hearing the bad news of what happened to his daughter-in-law, his granddaughter, and grandson, gives the final command to burn them all. When word reaches Jaime, he knows this also will include the Lannisters. What he doesn't realize is that Tywin is already on the way to sack King's Landing. And pretty much the glory doesn't go to Robert I, even though he still gets to become king. And pretty much it is the final end of the Targaryen dynasty, which again will come up in the next segment following this one. House Tyrell. While everything's going on with the Robert's Rebellion, Lyanna Tyrell, though she starts to show the age, is one not to trifle with, now that she has a clear-cut distinction of her inheritance and wealth. Even if Robert I was to win the Iron Throne of Swords for the Roman kingdoms, one could say that Robert I Baratheon is wise not to start anything with Tyrells. And later on, as we will cover later, Tyrells do eventually dip their banners before Ned Stark, thus symbolizing that they yield automatically. Whether Olenna Tyrell approves of this or not is another story. In the meantime, while a successful siege is held on House Baratheon, or Stannis Baratheon is currently holding the house, and all seems to go well with no interference of the siege, a couple of weddings takes place. And so the weddings, to commemorate all that's going well for the part of House Tyrell, is as follows. Victoria Tyrell. Victoria Tyrell is the daughter of Sir Victor Tyrell and is a distant cousin of the main branch. She is the widow of Lord John Bulwer. They have one daughter, Alysanne. John Bulwer. Lord John Bulwer was Lord of Blackcrown and head of House Bulwer during the reign of Robert Baratheon. He married Victoria Tyrell and had one child with her, Alysanne. In history, he died of a summer fever. His daughter succeeded him as Lady of Blackcrown and head of House Bulwer. Leo Tyrell, son of Victor. Leo Tyrell is a knight of House Tyrell, the son of Sir Victor Tyrell. He is married to Aerys Beesbury. They have 5 children. Aerys Beesbury. Aerys Beesbury is a member of House Beesbury. She is married to Sir Leo Tyrell. They have 5 children, Lionel, Alla, Lucas, Warren, and Leona Tyrell. The House of Greyjoy plays a key role in the upcoming Game of Thrones. And as Robert's Rebellion continues, this is the House of Greyjoy that leads up to Robert I Baratheon's rebellion. Balon Greyjoy. Balon Greyjoy is the head of House Greyjoy of Pike and is the Lord of the Iron Islands, the captain of the Great Kraken, is a follower of the old way of the Ironborn and desires to bring them back to prominence. In 289 AC, he proclaimed their independence from the Iron Throne. But Greyjoy's rebellion was defeated by King Robert I Baratheon's forces. In the television adaptation, Game of Thrones, Balon is played by Patrick Malahide. Appearance and character. Balon had always been fit, but by 299 Snow with a hard face. He has hard black eyes with long gray hair, flecked with white that hangs past the small of his back. Balon had a personality to match his people, stubborn, fearless, and quarrelsome. He is uncompromising, even when it comes to his own family, and his faith in the drowned god and the old ways is absolute. In history for his early life, Balon is the eldest surviving son of Tywin Greyjoy, Lord of the Iron Islands, and a lady of House Greyjoy. It is not clear when he was born. Balon learned to sail when still young and was a very skilled captain. Balon scaled the flint cliffs to the Blind Lord's haunted tower when he was 10. In his 13th year, he had become an expert oarsman. At 15, he sailed the Dagmar Cutjaw to the Stepstones on a reefing, killing his first man and taking his first 2 salt wives there. By 17, he captained his own longship. Later, he often went raiding and was known for his fierceness and fearlessness. Balon and 2 of his brothers, Euron and Victarion, wanted their father Quellon to join Robert's rebellion. Quellon was peaceful and cautious, however, and desired neutrality. After Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen was slain in the Battle of the Trident, Quellon was convinced by his sons to join the rebellion or else gain nothing from the war. The Iron Men's contribution to the war turned out to be minimal. Quellon was slain fighting the longship of the Shield Islands in a battle at Mandarin, after which Balon brought the Greyjoy ship back to Pike so he could claim the Seastone chair. When Balon returned to Pike, he found out his younger brother, Euron, had died of gangrene after being injured on the finger gaps. The maester at Pike had tried to save the hand of the boy, but his potions had failed. The 14-year-old Euron lost his life instead. Balon commanded the same treatment be used on the maester, who died along with Balon's stepmother. Balon is married to Lani's Harlaw, who gave him 3 sons and a daughter, Rodri, Meryn, Asha, and Theon. Victarion Greyjoy. Victarion Greyjoy is a member of House Greyjoy and is a younger brother of Lord Balon Greyjoy. He is the Lord Captain of the Iron Fleet, and his flagship is the Iron Victory. Parents and characters. Victarion is a large and powerful man with a bold, broad chest and a poised flat stomach. His hair is flecked with gray. He wears plate armor and combat, helm in the shape of a kraken, and wields a cruel axe. Victarion is a capable commander and a fierce warrior in battle, but has a calm demeanor outside of thinking of enemies who show bravery with great respect. He is a religious man and wears full plate armor while sailing because he has no fear of drowning. According to George R.R. Martin, Victarion is dumb as a stump and a dullard as a brute. In history, Victarion and his 2 eldest brothers, Balon and Euron, convinced their father, Lord Quellon Greyjoy, to join Robert's rebellion, and they raided the Reach late in the war. After Quellon was killed in the Battle of the Mandarin, however, the new Lord Balon returned to the Iron Islands with his younger brothers. Aergon Greyjoy. Aergon Greyjoy, also known as Yuri, was the fourth son of Lord Quellen Greyjoy and Lady Sunderland. He died in his childhood from an infection. In history, Aergon and his younger brother Aeron were great friends during their childhood. They were both sexually abused by their brother Euron as children. Aergon and Aeron often played at the finger dance together. Once, Aeron threw an axe that shaved off part of Aergon's hand. The maester of their father's new wife, a lady of House Piper, insisted on sewing Aergon's fingers back on instead of treating the amputation. Aergon's hand became infected. They eventually amputated his arm, but it was already too late, and Aergon died at the age of 14 as a result of the infection. Aergon's father, Lord Quellen Greyjoy, and older brothers Balon, Euron, and Victarion, had been away from Pike at the time, fighting the final battles of Robert's Rebellion. Lord Quellen died, and Aergon's brother Balon returned home as the new Lord of the Iron Islands. To avenge his brother's death, he took off the maester's fingers and had Lady Piper sew them back on. The maester died raving. Aeron Greyjoy. Aeron Greyjoy is the youngest surviving son of the late Lord Quellen Greyjoy and Lady Sunderland, and is a younger brother of Balon Greyjoy, Lord of the Iron Islands. As a result of a near-death experience during Greyjoy's rebellion, Aeron became a priest of the Drowned God and is now called the Damned Hair because of his wet hair. His acolytes are known as the Drowned Men. Appearance and character. Aeron is tall and thin, with fierce black eyes and a beak of a nose. Shorter than his elder brother, Victarion, Aeron garbs himself in rough-spun wool robes, dyed in the green, gray, and blue of the Drowned God. A sour-faced Aeron never cuts his hair and beard, which falls to his waist and has seaweed woven into it. He carries a water skin filled with seaweed, which he uses to bless those who desire it. Aeron was once an amiable man, fond of songs, ale, and women. Aeron's transformation has made him devoutly devoted to God in his watery halls. However, he is now a dour, humorless man who views every breath as a gift that is wasted if it is not used to extol the virtues of following the Drowned God's path. Aeron considers himself a prophet who can hear the Drowned God. He attributes discord in the Iron Islands to the hated Storm God. Aeron sometimes swallows salt water to strengthen his faith. In history, Aeron was born the youngest son from Lord Quellen Greyjoy's second of 3 marriages. At 6 and 10, he called himself a man, but in truth he had been a rival drunk who would sing, dance, play pipes, juggle, and ride horses. He drank much and claimed no man could piss longer or farther than him. He once wagered his ship against a flock of goats that he could douse a hearth of fire by urinating on. Subsequently, outraged his brother, Lord Balon, by naming the ship Golden Storm. Roderick Greyjoy. Roderick Greyjoy was the oldest son of Lord Balon Greyjoy. He was killed during Greyjoy's rebellion. In character, Roderick was an alcoholic with a tendency for drunken cuffs. History, Roderick was good friends with Sir Aerys Meryn Greyjoy. Meryn Greyjoy was the second son of Lord Balon Greyjoy. He died during the Greyjoy Rebellion. In character, when thinking back on his brother, Theon only remembers his cruel japes and compulsive lies. Asha Greyjoy. Asha Greyjoy is a member of House Greyjoy and is the daughter of Lord Balon Greyjoy by his wife, Lyanna Stark. She becomes a POV character in A Feast for Crows. In the television adaptation Game of Thrones, she is named Yara Greyjoy to avoid confusion with the wildling Osha and is played by Gemma Whelan. An appearance and character. As a child, Asha was a skinny girl with knobbed knees and a face full of pimples. In her mid-20s, Asha is lean and long-legged with dark eyes and black hair cut short. Her face is thin with a big, sharp nose and wind-chafed skin. On her neck is a faded pink scar. Her brother Theon believes her nose is too big and sharp for her small face. However, but feels that her wicked smile makes up for it. Asha is a wild and headstrong young woman, raised by her mother to be bold. There is a boldness to the way she walks, part saunter, part sway. She possesses a sharp wit and has no problem with holding her own against men, both in verbal battle and in a physical fight. Defying the classical gender roles of Westerosi culture, Asha was appalled early by the idea of becoming a lord's wife. After her older two brothers died and her younger brother was taken hostage, her father Balon began to see her as his heir, treating her like he would a son. Asha prefers dressing in a man's garb and personally leads her men into battle. She captains her own ship, the Black Wind, and has the devotion of her crew, who take a perverse pride in the deeds of their female captain. According to Asha, half of them love her like a daughter, while the other half wants to sleep with her. Regardless, Asha loves her men, and she is willing to die for them as they are for her. In battle, Asha prefers an axe, which she has been practicing with since she was just a little girl. She also keeps a dirk with her. While her counterpart in HBO TV series Game of Thrones, Yara Greyjoy, is bisexual, George R. Martin has confirmed that Asha is not. Eric Ironmaker. Eric Ironmaker, known as Eric the Just and Eric Anvil Breaker, is an Ironborn raider and the head of House Ironmaker. Appearance. Eric weighs around 20 stone and is 88 years old. He has white hair, and his long, massy beard is white too. He has to be carried about in a chair. His weapon of choice is a monstrous hammer. Here at history, Eric claims to have sailed with Lord Dagon Greyjoy. As a side note, the marriage of an old man, 80-some years of age, to Asha Greyjoy would seem to, in opinion, though it is conjecture and not proven, to be an arranged marriage that Asha did not give or concede to. However, it is stated somewhere along the line that she has no intentions of returning to the old man, who is a prearranged husband for her. Theon Greyjoy. Theon Greyjoy is a member of House Greyjoy, and is the sole surviving son and heir apparent of Balon Greyjoy, Lord of the Iron Islands. At the end of Greyjoy's rebellion, Theon was taken to Winterfell as a hostage and warred to Lord Eddard Stark. He becomes a POV character in A Clash of Kings, a television adaptation of Game of Thrones. He is played by Alfie Allen. Parents and character. Theon is a lean, dark, handsome youth who seems to find everything amusing. He is known for his confidence and his cocky smile. He is promiscuous and vain, but behind his arrogant exterior hides insecurities relating to his uncertain familial and social identity. Theon seeks approval from the Starks, but usually feels unsatisfied. Youth is not particularly religious. Theon wears a fur-lined cloak, black silk gloves, black leather boots, silvery gray lambswool breeches, a white leather belt, and a black velvet doublet embroidered with the Kraken of House Greyjoy. He has purchased a golden chain with gold. Another outfit includes a satin tunic, striped black and gold, and a leather jerkin with silver studs. For combat situations, Theon wears a black Kraken emblazoned surcoat over a shirt of flying mail. Experienced hunter and rider, Theon is accomplished with the longbow, and he also wields a dirk. He carries a longsword and a scabbard striped with the Greyjoy colors of black and gold. In history, Theon refers to Theon Stark, a king in the north, as his namesake. Theon received beatings at Pike from his older brothers, Roderick and Meryn. Llewellyn Greyjoy. Llewellyn Greyjoy was the Lord of the Iron Islands, Lord Reaper of Pike, and head of House Greyjoy. He was the father of the current Lord, Baelish Greyjoy. The longship, Lord Llewellyn, is presumably named in his honor. Character and appearance. Llewellyn has been considered one of the wisest of the Greyjoy. He stood 6.5 feet tall and was both strong and fast. In history, Llewellyn fought corsairs and slavers in the Summer Sea as a youth and commanded 100 longships during the War of the Nine Penny Kings. According to a semi-canon source, Llewellyn's Iron Men once attacked the fleet of Lord Barman and sacked Faircastle as Lord Tywin Lannister was a poor liege lord of the Western. Llewellyn tried to reform the ways of the Ironborn and integrate them with the rest of the Seven Kingdoms by freeing thralls, forbidding most reading, discouraging salt wives, encouraging marriages with the mainland, and bringing maesters to the Iron Islands. Llewellyn's health was failing during Robert's rebellion. However, and it was only after the Battle of the Trident that he was convinced by his eldest sons to join the war against House Targaryen. He led 50 longships against the Reach, keeping most of the Ironborn home to guard against House Lannister. Llewellyn died at sea in the Battle of the Mandarin's mouth against the Shield Islands, and the Iron Men's contribution to the war turned out minimal. With Llewellyn's death, the title of head of House Greyjoy, Lord of the Iron Islands, passed to his eldest surviving son, Balon Greyjoy. Lord Balon rejected most of his father's reforms, and his desire to return to the old way led to Greyjoy's rebellion against the rule of King Robert I Baratheon. His family is as such. Llewellyn had 3 wives and 9 sons, with only 4 survived to adulthood. With his first wife, Lady Stonetree, he fathered Harlan, Quentin, and Donald, none of whom survived childhood. His second wife, Lady Sunderly, Llewellyn fathered Balon, Euron, Victarion, Eurodon, and Aaron, with all surviving to adulthood with the exception of Eurodon. Llewellyn's third marriage, this time with Lady Piper, resulted in Robin, who also died as a child. Battle at the Mandarin. A battle at the Mandarin occurred in 283 AC near the end of Robert's rebellion. House Greyjoy achieved a negligible victory over the Shield Islanders at the mouth of the Mandarin. In prelude, Llewellyn Greyjoy, Lord of the Iron Islands, desired neutrality for the Iron Men during the Civil War. After Pike was informed of the death of Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen in the Battle of the Trident, however, Llewellyn was convinced by his eldest sons, Balon, Euron, and Victarion, to join the rebels as soon as possible or else lose all chance at spoils. Llewellyn led 50 longships in attacking the Reach, who were royalist supporters of House Targaryen. Since the intentions of House Lannister of Casterly Rock were as of yet unknown, most of the Iron Men's fleet remained at home to guard against the Westerlands. As a side note, this would, of course, distract Robert I Baratheon to see where the Ironborn would go with this battle. This would in turn give someone the chance to, unfortunately not all of them could be retrieved, but retrieve the body of Rhaegar Targaryen, and thus he is returned back to King's Landing, where he is given a proper burial with much ceremony, and thus is buried below the Red Keep in the crypts. Aerys II Targaryen is given the news of his heir to the Iron Throne of Sword for the realm of Kingdom, having fallen in battle. Aerys II Targaryen seems to be very anxious and very nervous at this point, because the only thing that stands between him and Robert I Baratheon is Dragonstone. Meanwhile, back at the battle, the Greyjoys raided the coast of the Reach, sinking or capturing some ships and raiding some villages and towns. They were unexpectedly met at the mouth of the Mandarin by the longships of the Shield Islands, however. 12 longships were sunk or captured in the battle, with the Greyjoys emerging the victor. The aged Lord Llewellyn was slain during the fighting, however. In the aftermath, although the Iron Men won the battle, Llewellyn's eldest son and heir, Balon Greyjoy, decided to return to Pike to claim the Sea Stone chair of the Iron Islands. The Iron Islands' contribution to Robert's rebellion was minimal. While the Greyjoys were attacking the Reach, Lord Tywin Lannister joined the rebels and ordered the sack of King's Landing by the Westermen. Therefore, as of 283 AC, the combatants for the Battle at the Mandarin was the rebel navy of House Greyjoy, and for the rebels of Robert I Baratheon, it was the Royal Navy of House Chester, House Grimm, House Hewitt, House Seri. The commanders for the rebels, unfortunately, is not given. The commanders for the House of Greyjoy is Lord Quillen Greyjoy, who was slain in battle, and Balon Greyjoy. The strength for Robert I Baratheon's naval support is unknown, but for the House Greyjoy it was 50 longships. The casualties for House Greyjoy is part of 12 longships sunk or captured, and of course, Quillen Greyjoy having been slain in battle. The casualties for Robert I Baratheon were his support of the sea warfare. It's part of 12 longships sunk or captured. At Casterly Rock, though it is theory and conjecture, Tywin Lannister had decided to rebuild the ships that had been lost at his port, and as a way of showing his loyalty to Robert I Baratheon, whose bloodline has a rightful claim to the Iron Throne of Swords, decides to teach a lesson. Not only will Aerys II Targaryen be able to blame House Greyjoy for the result of what is about to befall Dragonstone, but feels this is an excuse to show that blood will not be on his hands. After being presented by a young lad who is unknown or of any age, having sold Tywin a painting of him and his deceased beloved wife in exchange not for gold, but for spreading the word of his artistic skills, which is agreed upon with a handshake. He has word with conscripts to two people that are to commit a deed or act that is most unthinkable. They understand and follow the orders, and Tywin seems pleased that not all of the knights of the King's Guard are in favor of supporting Aerys II Targaryen. Thus, some are traitors within, and he has faith that no harm will come to his son Jaime Lannister, because Jaime will be expected to do his duty to defend Aerys II and would merely be captured. Thus, after Robert I Baratheon takes the throne by his rightful bloodline claim, then Tywin in turn would put in a good word to have Jaime pardoned and serve as Knight of the King's Guard for Robert I Baratheon. At least in conjecture and theory, that is the plan. However, things don't quite go as expected. House Stark in Winterfell, and again, there is a new heir to Eddard Stark, who is also known as Ned Stark, who will be known as the heir to House Stark. Robb Stark is the oldest son of Eddard Stark and Catelyn Tully, and he is the heir of House Stark to Winterfell out the north. He is called the Young Lord by friend and foe alike. In the television adaptation of Game of Thrones, he is played by Richard Madden. Appearance and character. Robb's appearance favors his Tully side, with a stocky build, blue eyes, and thick red-brown hair. He is strong and fast. He opens the series as a boy of 14 years. Robb wears a surcoat over his armor and carries an oak shield decorated with a dire wolf's head. Robb is his father's, Eddard's son, with a keen sense of justice. He shares his father's devotion to honor and is frequently accompanied by his dire wolf, Greywind. In history, Robb was conceived during the first fortnight of the marriage of Lord Eddard Stark and Lady Catelyn Tully on the wedding night at River Run, according to Catelyn. While Eddard rode south to fight in Robert's rebellion, Catelyn remained at House Tully's castle. At the end of the war, she gave birth at River Run with the aid of Maester Lee. House of Joy. This castle, which is located in the area of the Martells, still holds Lyanna Stark. Being very much pregnant now, she goes into labor and thus gives birth to hers and Prince Rhaegar Targaryen's son. But for the time being, and later on in the Game of Thrones, he will be known most commonly as Jon Snow. Jon Snow is the bastard son of Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell. He has 5 half-siblings: Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon Stark. Unaware of the identity of his mother, Jon was raised at Winterfell. At the age of 14, he joins the Night's Watch, where he earns the nickname Lord Snow. Jon is one of the major POV characters in A Song of Ice and Fire. The television adaptation, Game of Thrones, Jon is portrayed by Kit Harington. Appearance and character. Jon has more Stark-like features than any of his half-brothers. He is graceful and quick, and has a lean build. Jon has the long face of the Starks, with dark brown hair and gray eyes, so dark they almost seem black. Because he looks so much like a Stark, Tywin Lannister knows that whoever Jon's mother was, she left little of herself in her son's appearance. Out of all the Stark children, Arya Stark is said to resemble Jon the most, as Robb, Sansa, Bran, and Rickon take after their Tully mother, Catelyn. During the Great Ranging, Jon temporarily grows a beard. Jon looks solemn and guarded, and is considered sullen and quick to sense a slight. Due to having been raised in a castle and trained by a master at arms, Jon is seen by some lower-born members of the Night's Watch as arrogant at first, though this changes when they become more friendly towards one another, as Jon is reminded of his nonetheless privileged background and decides to pass on his knowledge to them. Jon is observant, a trait he developed on account of being a bastard. He is capable horseback rider and is well practiced in fighting with a sword. Jon has resented his bastard status most of the time. He desires to be viewed as honorable and wants to prove he can be as good and true as his half-brother Robb. Jon dreamed he would one day lead men to glory or even become a conqueror as a child. He feels strongly about not fathering a bastard himself. While Lord Eddard Stark openly acknowledged Jon as his son and allowed him to live in Winterfell with his half-siblings, Jon felt like an outsider nonetheless. While Jon has good relationships with his siblings, especially Robb, with whom he trained since they were children, and Arya, whom he sees as somewhat of an outsider as well, Eddard's wife, Catelyn, who was especially annoyed when Jon bested Robb in training of more classes, ensured that Jon was never truly one of them. Jon is not close to Theon Greyjoy, Eddard's ward, Lord Eddard refuses to speak of Jon's mother, and the boy grew up unaware of her identity, something which has wounded and haunted him. When Jon dreams of her, he considers her to be beautiful, high-born, and kind. As a northerner, raised at Winterfell, Jon keeps pace with the old gods. He eventually discovers that he is a warg, being able to see through the eyes of his direwolf ghost when he sleeps, and experiencing ghost feelings and senses while awake. After joining the Night's Watch, Jon dresses in their official black garb. While there is no description of Jon's personal coat of arms in the books George R. Martin told the company Valyrian Steel, which makes replicas of Jon's sword, to use the reversed Stark colors on the plaques that go with the sword. In history, Jon was born in 283 AC, near the end of Robert's Rebellion. Jon was named by Lord Eddard Stark. The identity of Jon Snow's mother remains a mystery, and several suggestions have been made by those who know the Starks. Jon is unaware of his mother's identity, and Eddard refuses to speak of her. When Eddard returned from the war, he brought the newborn Jon to Winterfell, insisting on raising him with the rest of his family. Jon and his wet nurse had been installed in the castle before the arrival of Eddard's new wife, Catelyn Tully, and his young son and heir, Robb Stark, from Riverrun, which Catelyn did not take well. Back at Casterly Rock, the two particular knights of King's Guard are paid handsomely by Tywin to carry out the deed of exterminating the last of Dragonstone to prove loyalties to Robert I, who has a bloodline claim to the Iron Throne of Swords for the realm of the kingdom. They depart immediately without hesitation, and while they are on the way to King's Landing, as had been predicted, because of Robert I Baratheon being very promiscuous at the time of the Battle of the Bells, a second bastard of Robert I Baratheon is born, known as Bella. She is thus named after the Battle of the Bells, and much like her mother, because there is nothing else for her to do anyway, she is trained in the virtues and occupation of being a prostitute. In the meantime, the two that have been paid to carry out the deed of exterminating the last of the bloodline of Rhaegar Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne of Swords for the realm of the kingdom, following Aerys II Targaryen, and his wife and queen, Elia Martell, finally reach King's Landing. House Lannister, Rhaegar Clegane. Sir Rhaegar Clegane is the Knight of Clegane's Keep and is the head of House Clegane, landed knights and bannermen to House Lannister of Casterly Rock. Rhaegar is a freakishly large man, and for this he is often called the Mountain That Rides, or simply the Mountain. His soldiers are known as the Mountain's Men. In the television adaptation Game of Thrones, Rhaegar is played by Conan Stevens in Season 1, Ian White in Season 2, and Hafthor Julius Bjornsson in Season 4 through Season 7. Character and appearance. Rhaegar is well known for his size, cruelty, and prowess in battle. Rhaegar is extremely tall. He is close to 8 feet in height, or 2.4 meters. He has massive shoulders and arms thick as the trunk of a small trees, and a voice like stone breaking. Rhaegar weighs over 30 stones, which is about 420 pounds or 190 kilograms, nearly all of it muscle, making him near inhumanly strong. Rhaegar's strength allows him to wield a 6-foot, two-handed great sword with just one hand, giving him enormous reach while still wielding a shield. Such is the power of Rhaegar's strength that he has been known to hack men in half with just a single blow. In battle, Rhaegar wears the heaviest, thickest plate armor in the Seven Kingdoms. His armor is so heavy that no ordinary man would be able to move, let alone fight effectively while wearing it, making him nigh invincible in combat. Below the plate he wears chainmail and boiled leather. He also wears a plate helm with only a narrow slit for vision, the top of which is a stone fist punching up towards the sky. Rhaegar carries an extremely thick oaken shield bearing the 3 black dogs of House Clegane on a yellow field. Rhaegar is known for his violence and cruelty. He is sadistic, murderer, and rapist. Sir Brynden Tully compares him to a frothing dog, quote-unquote. Despite being a dim and brutal man, he has excellent warrior instincts. He is solitary, never leaving his own lands except for wars or tourneys. According to his squire, Joss Stillwood, Rhaegar constantly suffers from extreme headaches and consumes vast quantities of milk of the poppy to try and dull the pain. The cause of these headaches is unknown, perhaps due to some condition of his gigantism, though Merritt Frey's experiences indicate that a tourney injury or head blow in battle can be debilitating. This might be an explanation for Rhaegar's near uncontrollable temper. According to his brother Sandor Clegane, Rhaegar once killed one of his own men because the soldier snored too loudly. In history, Rhaegar's history is dark and filled with blood. As a young boy, 11 or 12 years old, he caused his brother Sandor's facial scars by holding the younger boy's face to a hot blazer as punishment for playing with a toy he had discarded. Their father spread the story that the injuries were caused by bedding that had caught fire. 4 years later, Rhaegar was knighted by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, presumably prior to the tourney of Harrenhal. Rhaegar is a suspected kinslayer. There are rumors that Rhaegar killed his father, sister, and his first 2 wives. His keep is said to be a grim place where servants vanish unaccountably, and even the dogs are afraid to enter the halls. Rhaegar has committed rapes and cold-blooded murders beyond count, but his most infamous deed came from his service to House Lannister during Robert's Rebellion. At the age of 17, Rhaegar was one of the first Lannister soldiers to enter King's Landing during its sack at the end of the war. He and Sir Armory Lord scaled Rhaegar's holdfast. The Lannister troops reached the Red Keep. Gregor entered the nursery of the infant Prince Aegon, son of Prince Rhaegar, and killed the baby, present by dashing the boy's head against the wall. A side note, blood and brain matter splatter all over his face, much to his delight. Then he raped and murdered Aegon's mother, Princess Lyanna, supposedly with the boy's blood and brains still on his hands. The identities of the two murderers have not been publicly confirmed in the recorded history, although Gregor's involvement is common knowledge at Caster's Rock. As a side note, the younger brother, whose face was burned, becomes known as the Hound. Armory Lorch. Sir Armory Lorch is a knight of House Lorch and bannerman of House Lannister. His personal arms are a black manticore on a red field. Appearance and character. Amory is a portly man of average height, described as having a pale, baby face, with small pig-like eyes and a high, thin voice. He's regarded as a cool, simple, and small man. In history, according to a semi-canon source, Amory threw the last Lord Tarbeck, a 3-year-old boy, down a well during the Rhaenys Tarbeck rebellion. Amory was responsible for the murder of the 3-year-old Princess Rhaenys Targaryen during the sack of King's Landing. Alongside and in front of several House of Lannister men at arms, he dragged the screaming toddler from under her father Rhaegar's bed and stabbed her dozens of times. As a side note, there is a little bit of contradiction on this because it is actually said in another passage that it was over 50 times that he has stabbed Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, daughter of Prince Rhaegar and Princess wife and queen Elia Martell. It was shortly thereafter that, fortunately, while this is going on at Dragonstone, that some of the King's Guard protect and defend by sneaking Prince Viserys III Targaryen and Princess Daenerys Targaryen out from Dragonstone in a rowboat with others rowing ahead. They miraculously go unnoticed. When they reach King's Landing, they inform King Aerys II Targaryen that they have bad news, but feel it would be best if the Prince Viserys and Princess Daenerys not be present. King Aerys II Targaryen agrees to this and tells the wet nurse to take charge of them, even if she has to put them up at her place. Then it orders her to leave us, and she does as commanded. They inform Aerys II Targaryen of what has befallen Prince Rhaegar Targaryen's wife and queen, Elia Martell, and Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, his granddaughter, and Prince Aegon, the newborn, who would have been, if he lived, Aegon the Sixth. He is so distraught, and by the look on his face, is so angered by this, though he didn't really care much for Elia Martell, but she was a better choice than Cersei Lannister, and he smells Lannister treachery, though it cannot be proven. He orders his men that he wants every single one of them to be exterminated. They're not sure what he means at first, and he tells them sharply, "Go." And as they start departing the throne room, he makes his infamous shout out, for which they do carry out the sentence as ordered by King Aerys II Targaryen. Shortly after the order was given, King's Guard, who are faithful to King Aerys II Targaryen, return Dragonstone, and though they cannot find the two ringleaders that were paid to do such a treacherous, cowardly act, catch the other men, and after much fighting, finally the other men surrender, knowing that they're outnumbered. They are then tied to a post, each one of them, and with green wildfire are set ablaze to burn to death as Aerys II Targaryen commanded. Then they understand that their next attack shall be to gather more men and to go after the Lannisters at Castle Rock. So this is the missing gap that Bren has at the very beginning of the season 1, I believe it's first episode or so of Game of Thrones. As the selected elite King's Guard is heading towards Casterly Rock direction, what's going to end up happening is that Jaime Lannister is going to get wind of this, and he's going to confront King Aerys II, to which he will learn that burn them all includes Lannisters included, because though Aerys II cannot prove it, he smells treachery on his part as to what to happen to Prince Rhaegar's wife and Queen Elia Martell and his grandson and granddaughter, Rhaenys and Aegon, who, if he would have lived, would have been known as Aegon the Sixth. So Jaime Lannister will, of course, play along at first, but Jaime will once again do, as he said, to do the unthinkable, he has to go far away deep inside and turns on the Knights of the King's Guard, though he has made a not sworn oath, and tries to stop as many as he can. Little does he know that at the time that King's Landing will be soon sacked, that Stannis Baratheon will be coming towards the Dragonstone to assume his position, since he will also be heir to Robert I Baratheon. And those King's Guard, of course, will put up for a fight, but they will not last long. So in the meantime, he knows that more will be sent out unless he takes care of things once and for all, because he's tired of how he's supposed to make a sacrifice of an entire family because of a mad king. So in which case then, in the next part, will come to the point of him killing Aerys II Targaryen, father to sole survivors Viserys III Targaryen and his young sister Daenerys Stillborn Targaryen. In the final part of the Great Targaryen Genealogical Records 101, William will learn of the exact time that Daenerys' father is killed by one who shall be known as the Kingslayer, and thus brings down the final fall of the Targaryen dynasty. This will continue in the next segment of William's Lessons of the House of Targaryen.